Hello, my friend. I am so excited to dive into this week's podcast episode for you on this week's astrology. Oh my goodness. It's going to be a bit of an intense week, yet also an exciting one. We have Mars moving back into Leo, and then we also have Taurus season beginning this week. In this week's episode, I'll dive deep into what to expect for the transits of this week. I will also be sharing a story on hitting rock bottom, what this looks like for me, what transits were happening for me, and how this actually propelled me into one of the best years of my life. I will then end off this podcast episode with a tarot reading of what energy to embrace, what energy to let go of. So let's just dive right into it. All right, so how was that full moon in Libra for you? If it was intense, that makes sense. And I will say, if you still want to manifest for the full moon in Libra, you can come join me and the Moon Sign Creative Community tonight, Monday, April 14th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be doing a love manifestation ritual to let go of any past hurt and pain, to call in more love into your life. Honestly, I'm super excited for this because I have one of the best communities out there. Everyone is so sweet, so kind, so empathetic. And if you just want to discover how this full moon has impacted your chart specifically, this is the perfect event for you. So I am super excited. If you still want to do a love manifestation ritual later this week, a replay is available. I'll leave the link down below if you want to join in. I'm super excited for it. And let's dive into the transits of this week. First off, you just survived a Venus retrograde in Aries and Pisces. Congrats. And if you felt a bit more insecure over the last 40 days, if you felt a bit more scarce in terms of money in the last 40 days, this is why. If you felt like it was a bit harder to connect with someone or to just feel loved in the relationships you're in, this is why. Yet Venus retrogrades really do help us understand our values in a different way and how we can approach our relationships, our finances, and what we need to focus on to help us move forward. For myself, having Venus retrograde in my chart, it is a very interesting experience because I have to really reflect on why things externally aren't showing up the way I'm feeling internally. And it is a very interesting time period for us. So I will say we will be in the Venus retrograde shadow period until May 16th. So that's quite some time. So if you've had any issues around relationships, finances, or just feeling a bit more insecure, just know that these themes can still come up during this time. However, with Venus forward, we're still going to feel a lot more optimistic. We're going to feel a bit more romantic because Venus is in Pisces. We're going to feel still a bit more nostalgic and emotional, yet I feel like we're finally going to get this movement of, okay, I can take action on my values right now, or you're feeling a bit more secure in terms of what you're doing based on your values. I also had someone reach out saying that they're still experiencing this Mercury retrograde. We're still in the Mercury retrograde shadow period until April 26th, 2025. So for the next week and a half, we're still having a bit of miscommunication, technical issues. There can still be this feeling that's lingering on, especially in terms of your spirituality, connection to the collective energy, mental health, any type of emotional regulation we're really focused on. Now on April 14th, we have Saturn conjunct the North Node in Pisces. So this energy is us really getting serious about our life path. This is us really getting this foundation set of what actions do I need to plan out to get to where I want to go. And currently, with the North Node, that is where we're heading this lifetime. Yet the transiting North Node in Pisces wants us to focus on our emotional regulation. It wants us to focus on the collective energy, what would help us take care of our mental health. It wants us to focus on empathy and compassion and creativity, but also growth through how we emotionally feel. How can you focus on the feeling that you want to call into your life? Saturn is there to help us understand what systems do we need to put in place for this to take place for us. If you want a certain dream, this is really, really helpful. This is us getting more serious about, okay, maybe I need to hire that mentor. Maybe I need to book that birth chart reading. Maybe I need to book a session with my therapist. And this is helping you with understanding I need to take some action and put something in place for this. And honestly, this is really, really helpful. It can feel a little bit restricting, like it's going to take more work than we initially thought. Yet, this is us really reflecting on our long-term vision and our long-term goals. Now, on April 16th, we have Mercury re-entering Aries. So this is going to be really interesting. Go back to see what was happening for you on March 3rd, 2025. Around that time period, around that week, because similar themes can come up again. With Mercury and Aries, we're going to be a bit more blunt, honest, passionate, driven in terms of our communication. So this is very exciting. We also have a lot of focus with this time. We also have a lot of focus on our identity and who we are. So this will be really interesting. We'll have more conversations around our self-concept, our self-image, what we want to improve when it comes to ourselves. So I'm excited to see what happens for you, what reflections you gain based on this, since Mercury is now direct. So please comment down below any reflections you receive based on looking at the state. Now on April 17th, we have Mercury in Aries conjunct Neptune in Aries. This is going to be a confusing day. I want to give you a heads up. Communication can be very strange this day. It can be very hard to get a clear answer. The funny thing is, Mercury in Aries is usually straightforward and very, very blunt. Yet, because of Neptune here, we haven't experienced this conjunction in our lifetime, right? This is the first time we're experiencing Neptune in Aries. So the conjunctions that are happening with Neptune and Aries, we're all in this new space of, okay, what is coming up right now? Now, Neptune itself is a very confusing planet. Neptune is our perception, it is our spirituality. It also helps us in terms of understanding things beneath the surface. So someone could potentially expect you to know what they're saying without being very clear. This is not the best day to go through your finances because you could potentially miss something. People could also just feel a bit more insecure with Neptune. You could feel a little bit anxious around communication this day. So just know that people can feel a bit more wishy-washy. Try not to do too many meetings this day if you don't need to. However, this is actually a really good day to tune into your spirituality and perhaps do a meditation and take time to reflect on who you want to be and what does that look like. Because Mercury and Neptune are in Aries, this is the time to reimagine your dream self. So this is a good week to reflect on this. What does your dream self look like? What does your dream self do every day? What are the actions they're taking? What do you need to believe about yourself to become this version of yourself? So you can really use this transit to your advantage for identity work. I do highly recommend mirror work during this day. So just looking at yourself in the mirror and giving yourself those affirmations you want and need, but also just reflecting on how far you've come and celebrating that. So on April 18th, Mars re-enters Leo, and this is a huge, huge deal. This is because Mars has been in Cancer for almost the entire year. The last time Mars was in Leo was January 5th of this year. So for months, we had Mars in Cancer. And things could have felt very slow. It could have felt more emotional when it came to work, when it came to dating. People could have been a bit more wishy-washy in these areas, or a little bit more closed off, I would say, just because Cancer is the crab and can be a bit more protective. You could have felt as though it was harder to have that motivation. With Mars and Cancer, we were kind of waiting on inspired action, especially from our emotions, whereas Mars and Leo brings us more passion and drive when it comes to how we work and how we date. So I'm very excited for this. Think back to what was happening for you around January 5th of this year, because we're going to get some similar themes coming up for us. So because we're still in the Mars retrograde shadow period, check back to see what was happening for you November 6th, 2024, because similar themes can come up for you right now. As a Leo sun, I'm super, super excited for this energy because honestly, Mars is very uncomfortable in the sign of Cancer. It could have just been really difficult to get more work done. It could have felt a little bit more tiring, a bit more draining. And although there are some really lovely benefits of Mars in Cancer, such as focusing on our home, focusing on our safety, focusing on our emotional regulation, focusing on our intuition and how we intuitively feel when we take action, it did delay a lot when it came to progressing forward with our goals and progressing forward with what we want to take action on. So I'm very excited for Mars in Leo. Now on April 19th, Taurus season begins, and with the start of Taurus season, we'll have this new energy to really get grounded, to take things a bit more slow. I know that's a bit contradictory to what I said about Mars and Leo, yet Taurus season wants us to pace ourselves. Taurus season wants us to appreciate the present moment and to really see the benefit of understanding why we're here on the earthly realm. So this could look like wanting to appreciate things with a lovely brunch with friends. This could look like wanting to stay in and reorganize your space. This could look like creating a plan for yourself and just focusing on the day-to-day routine that would actually help you get there, but also appreciating those daily moments. Taurus season also makes us really focused on our money, our food, but also our self-worth and self-value. So this could be a time when you want to declutter your space or you want to bring in new items into your space. This could be a time when you're trying to figure out how to earn more money or how to just enjoy life more, how to have more fun and appreciate what is currently in front of you. So on the same day, on April 19th, we have Mars in Leo trine Neptune in Aries. So this is very lovely. This is very supportive. The work you're doing can feel very spiritual, or the actions you're taking can feel very passionate, but also creative. This is a really lovely day to do any creative work, to make art, to film content, to do some glamour magic, to really take action towards something that you're very passionate about. This is also a great day to potentially go on a romantic date or to just take initiative and listen to your intuition when it comes to the people you're seeing. I do see this energy as us getting more excited when it comes to a spiritual practice. Perhaps you go to a yoga class and it just feels so nourishing. More so hot yoga with all this fire energy, yet it just feels like this huge experience for you to release any pent up energy, but also just to connect to something greater than yourself. Now, on April 20th, this can feel like a bit more of an intense day. I do want to give you a heads up. On April 20th, we have Venus conjunct the North Node in Pisces. So you could have some very lovely encounters with people this day, especially around your life path or around something you're really focused on when it comes to your creativity, when it comes to your mental health, when it comes to emotional regulation. You could potentially talk to a close friend, and they could just really help you feel very empathetic and very nourished around your goals this day. Venus in Pisces is also sextile to Uranus and Taurus this day, so you can also get some really lovely surprises when it comes to money, food, finance, art. This was a transit I talked about in the full moon in Libra chart, but it is exact this day. So this could be a day when you hear about a surprise payment coming through for you, you get a free meal out of nowhere, or you just get a lovely text from a close friend that just makes you feel really loved. Mercury in Aries is also sextile to Pluto in Aquarius this day, so you could have some very intense conversations, especially around your friends and community, or it could be around technology and your big dreams and goals. This is still very supportive. Maybe perhaps you're feeling more confident around a certain friend group, or your friends are very encouraging to you when it comes to the goals you've set in place, and they're just hyping you up or they're making you more excited to take action towards them. This could also look like just feeling very motivated in a collaborative setting. Maybe you have a team meeting and everyone has these very exciting ideas, and it's also just inspiring you in terms of the work you're doing, or it could just feel as though someone's seeing you for the ideas you're putting on the table. So the reason why I said this could feel like a little bit more of an intense week is because we're getting closer to the more intense astrology of next week. This is still a really lovely week. I want to say that. I think we're going to feel a lot more excited this week, and we're going to see this momentum to move forward. Yes, we're still in 3 shadow periods, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, yet we'll have this momentum to move forward with Mars and Leo, which is what I'm most excited about. However, on April 20th, you could feel a little bit of this intense energy that will be exact on the 21st, which is the Sun in Aries square to Mars in Leo. So this could be a day where you could feel a bit more conflicted, or you need to take action, especially around something you're passionate about, or you need to change something up when it comes to the work you're doing and how this kind of conflicts with your identity. I just want to give you a heads up on this energy because it's happening next week. However, we still have some lovely transits for support on the 20th. Yeah, I just wanted to give you a heads up on the 21st. It can feel a little bit more intense, and it's not a great day to do any type of physical intense work, like a really hard workout, or potentially just straining your body in a really hard way. So I just want to give you a heads up on that. So those are our transits for this week. If you want personal support based on your birth chart to really help you with anything when it comes to your career, your business, your relationships, then I am offering private birth chart readings this month. I just have a few spots left, but this is the perfect opportunity to get a private reading with me. I won't have any spots in May, and I'm just so excited to read birth charts this month. My clients are getting such amazing, amazing breakthroughs from their readings, and it's just been so lovely to witness. So if this sounds like something you want, I'll leave a link to that down below. I'm excited to read your birth chart if you feel called to. Now, I want to get into the topic for this week, which is hitting rock bottom, and how hitting rock bottom really actually gave me the space to have one of the best years of my life. I am going to take us back to 2014, and I go back to this year a lot because this is one of the hardest years of my life. And this was when I first graduated my undergrad in graphic design. I moved out of my mom's place and I was on my own, and I got into some very, very toxic work environments this year that I had to quit. However, I remember this year to be one of the hardest years of my life, not including when my dad passed away when I was 11, and that whole year and years after that was very, very intense. Yet 2014 felt like a year where I just couldn't do anything right. I kept trying so hard to get into a good job and was unsuccessful. And I just remember thinking, okay, I worked so hard on this undergrad degree, and I'm not seeing any potential work that feels fulfilling, that feels aligned to me. I honestly got super scared. I think I was at my lowest for years, and I just didn't know what to do because I had so many bills to pay, and I was in a scarcity mindset. I really was afraid. I didn't know what to apply for. I was applying to any job at this time, and I was conflicted because I spent all this time on this degree and I wasn't really getting the job that I wanted. And at that time, I didn't know that I was just not aligned to a 9 to 5 job. I really was in a place where I was just so confused as to what to do. I now pulled up my transits from this time period, and it's mind-blowing to me how chaotic my transits were at this time. So I'm going to share certain transits that really affected me, and I wish I knew this in 2014 because honestly, it would have saved me so much grief. It would have saved me so much pain because I was having an existential crisis weekly at this time. Yes, I did get a TA position after I quit a very toxic workplace, which I mentioned in a previous episode. So I was waiting for this teaching assistant position to start the next year in 2015. Yet for a few months, from October, November, and December, I was trying to figure out, how do I make money to live? And what do I do? And I was so lost. So I was just in a panic for those few months. And looking at this chart, I could see very clearly I had to experience this, and I was going through some very difficult transits. So I'm going to point out a few. So if you're currently experiencing this, hopefully it makes you feel better as to whatever is happening for you. So at that time, I had Uranus opposing my ascendant. So at this time, Uranus was in Aries. It was opposing my ascendant, and this honestly was shaking up any type of one-on-one partnership I was experiencing. I had some very intense bosses at this time, and Aries is the sign of leadership. Aries is the sign of entrepreneurship, and when I see this, this was a sign for me to break free from certain bosses at this time. this also made a lot of relationships for me very unpredictable. I remember a certain friend at this time was very unpredictable for me, and I just didn't know what to expect from her. So it was a very hard transit for me because I had to detach from what other people expected from me. I had to disappoint a lot of people. And I also had to realize that it was showing me that I couldn't be confined to what other people's expectations were of me. If you are a Scorpio rising, you're currently going through this. And if you are a Sagittarius rising, you're going to soon experience this transit. Now, this is still a helpful transit. I want to preface that. Uranus in your seventh house, opposing your ascendant, can help you understand to detach from a specific outcome when it comes to a relationship. It's teaching you the art of detachment. It's teaching you, okay, what needs to change when it comes to certain relationships. And it could also surprise you with the people you meet. I remember at this time, I was really intensely networking at so many networking events because I was so desperate for a job at this time. I didn't know what to do. I was also a very shy person. So I was really forcing myself to go to these networking events. I was forcing myself to change up my environment. And I was meeting some very eccentric people and very different people. And this was ultimately very, very helpful. I did land a few very small one-off jobs doing that, and still some really lovely friends from networking events at this time. Yet I really wish I knew that Uranus was in my seventh house. I really wish I knew and understood astrology at this time because I kept feeling like something was wrong with me. So I want to point out a few more transits that were happening at this time because this was me hitting rock bottom. This was me not knowing how I was going to pay for rent. I was over 20K in debt, and I just honestly felt so scared. I just didn't know what to do. I was anxious all the time. I was counting pennies, and I just was at the lowest point. I think I was so depressed that I was constantly trying to attach to a certain outcome, and it was keeping me stuck. It was keeping me really unhappy. And I'm going to share the mindset shift that really helped me get into one of the better years of my life in 2015 afterwards. So what was also happening at this time for me was Saturn was in Scorpio transiting my second house of finances. So it felt very difficult for me to make money. It felt very difficult for me to save money. And Saturn wanted me to get very serious about making money. It wanted me to get very serious about, okay, what plan do I have about my finances? How can I take this more seriously? But I was taking it so seriously that it honestly gave me so much anxiety and I didn't know what to do. So, me seeing Saturn in my second house makes so much sense for this time period. I think I was at my lowest for my money mindset, and I didn't know at that time how important it was to improve your money mindset. I didn't know how worrying wasn't actually helping the situation and how much grief I could have saved myself if I knew things would get so much better the next year. And honestly, if you're currently experiencing Saturn transiting your second house, this can feel kind of hard. It can feel as though you really need to get more disciplined with the money you earn. Things can feel a bit more scarce. Things can feel like it's a process for you to save, but it's teaching you okay, what do you need to do to improve your money mindset, to know that you're safe, to know that you're okay? And the thing that helped me the most at this time period was honestly detachment, again, which Uranus was teaching me, but also Saturn in a different way. So for me, this looked like I need to really stop caring about money. I had to really stop thinking about the future and really stop beating myself up about past decisions because it wasn't beneficial, right? And sometimes we can get the most stuck if we keep thinking about the future and we keep thinking about the past and we keep saying, I should be further along right now. Why am I not where I want to be? This is not helpful, okay? I got stuck in this mentality just last week and I had to pull myself out of it and remind myself, stay present, enjoy the journey, enjoy the process. That's going to help you the most. And I just remember crying my eyes out on my couch in my tiny apartment at that time. And basically, I had to reach an emotional point at this time where I had to cry everything out and tell myself, I have to stop caring. I have to detach. At that time, I didn't know what detachment was, yet I had to let go and stop hyper focusing and tell myself everything's going to be okay. Yes, I'm still going to check my bank account. I'm still going to be responsible. I'm still going to take the necessary steps I need to take. But me hyper focusing and worrying is not helping anyone. It's interesting because Saturn at this time was conjunct my Pluto in Scorpio. And Pluto is all about survival. So I was really feeling as though I needed to survive. And this was honestly such a hard point in my life. I did not have the same tools I have now, and I really wish I did, because if I knew about astrology, I feel like it would have given me so much comfort and so much knowledge as to what to expect for the next year. Because what was also happening in my transit chart was I was just about to experience my Jupiter return. And Jupiter is the planet of luck, expansion, opportunity, growth, and wisdom. Yes, there is a dark side to Jupiter, which can lead to burnout. However, my Jupiter return, which was happening at the end of 2014 and the beginning of 2015, actually brought me in so many amazing clients and got me so many sales. Was it still aligned for me? Not necessarily, but it was honestly 10 times better than what I experienced in 2014. And I just remember I got so many new clients and opportunities during this time. And this was probably one of my best financial years. So, to be honest, it was worth it. That rock bottom had to take place for me to understand, to detach from a certain outcome, because energetically as well, if you're hyper focusing on something, the less likely it's going to happen, right? Because you're just really so focused, it has to be a certain way, it has to look a certain way. Whereas if you can detach, that is when things start to fall into place. That is when more things and more opportunities can flow in. Now, I still struggle with this. Honestly, I still do. I have created some free overnight affirmations to let go and detach from a certain situation if you're currently struggling with this. I honestly wish I had this years ago because it would have helped me so much. I'll leave a link to that down below if you want to try them out for yourself. You can play them overnight just so that you can feel that relief and peace and just that energy of not having to hyper focus on how things need to be. It's just accepting what things are. So there were a few more transits happening at this time for me that really showed me, okay, this was a hard year for a reason, right? And the beautiful thing about astrology is when you can see why things are hard, you can also see the good that's about to flow in. And sometimes we really, really need that hope. We need that understanding that things are going to change, because the only thing in life that is constant is change. So for myself, if I only knew how good things were going to get for me, I could have just really started to appreciate time for myself. Like at that time in October and November of 2014, I wasn't working, and I could have appreciated some time off before I had one of the busiest years of my life. Yet I couldn't appreciate it because I was in a panic about making money, right? Yet if I knew and saw that amazing, amazing things were coming in for me, I could have focused on that energy and I could have really started to appreciate where I was. And that is the beautiful power of astrology. Yet, looking back, I'm so grateful for that rock bottom, because it really taught me an important lesson of detachment and to not put money on a pedestal, which we can often do. We think making more money will make us happy. We think these things will solve all our problems. But I had to reach a certain emotional point, an emotional low, to let things go and just feel peace. And that is what brought in some amazing, amazing collaborations, more freelance design opportunities, and just more excitement for my next year. If you are currently going through a hard time and you want to look through your transits with me in a session, I'll leave a link to my birth chart readings down below. I'd be happy to help you through this. And thank you so much for listening, friend. Now let's get into our tarot reading for this week. So the first card out is the Eight of Wands reverse. So we're letting go of busyness this week, which is interesting because I do think this week is going to pick up momentum with Mars entering Leo. Yet I think we're trying to let go of this hustle mentality, this hustle culture, especially with Taurus season beginning. So we're trying to let go of feeling scattered, feeling all over the place. This is really, really helpful. If you feel like your mind has been emotionally cluttered, this is a good week to just take some time, slow down, journal things out, emotionally dump everything onto paper, because you need to release this energy. I also see this as some pent up energy within you that needs to be expressed. So may that be through a workout, may that be through just being more physically active or dancing or doing something creative. That's going to help you channel this energy and just make things feel so much more productive. The next card out is the Four of Pentacles. We did get this card recently, and I really do feel like this has been a major player card for this Venus retrograde. So this week, we could feel a little bit more scarce. We could still feel like we're being very careful with our finances or how we are showing love and affection to other people. Yet, this is a card for us to reflect on what actually makes you feel safe. Does that need to change? How can you make yourself feel safe now? How can you ground yourself and remind yourself things are going to be okay? Try not to get stuck in this energy, even when things can feel a bit hard right now. The next card out is the Page of Cups. So I think we're going to get some really lovely support this week. This could just be a very small gift from someone, more so like this emotional support. Maybe a friend is checking in on you, or you go on just a lovely date, or it could just be feeling like you want more play in your life and you get to experience this and feel a little bit more of this childlike joy. So I love this energy for us. Our challenge this week is the Five of Wands. So things can feel a bit hard. I do think we could have a bit more conflict this week. I'm sorry to say, people around you could feel a little bit more tense. There can be a fight in some area of your life, not necessarily with you, but just know that people can feel very heated at this time. And I will say that full moon in Libra was emotional. We're still going to feel the full moon in Libra this week, and people can be acting out of ego. They could be acting out of their wounds and insecurities. So this can feel challenging this week, right? Try not to emotionally react right away, and take time for yourself this week to take care of yourself. That's going to be super, super important for you to do. I asked us what would help us overcome this challenge, and we got the Two of Cups, which is beautiful. So this energy is us really seeing the other person as ourselves, knowing we're all connected, giving a peace offering to someone, right? If this is not you in conflict with someone else, maybe this is you in conflict with yourself, and you need to just show up for yourself and show yourself that love and compassion. But I really see this as you taking care of your health in a better way this week. I really see that with the Two of Cups, but also just understanding that we're all mirrors. So if we're seeing this fight externally, what internally do you still need to face? What internally do you still need to accept? And what internally do you need to really process and face and accept and let go? Oh, okay, I really felt that message. That was intense. That was intense. But I do love this card. So show yourself more love, show the people around you more love, act out of love right now. This is going to be so important for you. Your oracle cards are Rest. So I love this card. I do want to say the 29th degree of Aries can feel like burnout. So please be cautious of this. Yet with Taurus season beginning, you're going to need some rest. You're going to need to recharge. Okay? Rest is productive. Remind yourself of this. We also got content with what I already have. So how can you be grateful for what is currently happening in your life? How can you see that you have everything you need? It's okay to want more. It's okay to desire more. It's okay to want to grow and to manifest and call more into your life. But you can't do that without being grateful for what you currently have. So I love this energy. Our last card out is Emerge. So this is the time to really focus on how you are showing up in your power. How can you step it up and lead, but also just be yourself, show more of yourself, be authentic, and take action towards what you really want. So I love this card so much. I really hope this helped, friend. I really hope it helped. If you'd like a private session with me, I'll leave a link to that down below. If you want to join the Moon Sign Creative Community for our full moon in Libra manifestation ritual, I'll leave a link to that down below. We'd be happy to see you. And thank you so much for watching, friend. Just remember, the universe has your back. And with peace and love, take care.